Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Senators and staff, former and current servicemen and women of the Republic, and all of us who are gathered here. I will take no more than 2 minutes.
Thank you.
So as Amnesty International, it may seem slightly strange for us to be in this space, but I think when we looked at the facts of the matter, and we have spent a lot of time considering all the issues, it became very clear to us that the human rights of our servicemen and women are no different from any other citizen or civilian in this country. And therefore the Constitution that we all voted for in 2010, and we now celebrate 1 decade of, applies not just to civilians, but it applies to all Kenyans, unless there is another constitution that was passed in our absence. So specifically, I think there are 3 points we wanted to raise. First of all, that there are very few countries across the world where there is no law, there is no department, there is no public culture that actually honors, that protects and cares for our service men and women, and particularly for our military veterans. Kenya, unfortunately, is one of those countries, despite the fact that we have provided technical support and military assistance to countries in the tens across this world. So therefore, this bill, this petition that has been brought by Honourable Kanyeri, is one that we fully support, and we would urge the committee to support, but also to champion through the Senate and also through the National Assembly as well. Lastly, I think the question has been raised whether this particular petition should come to this committee or whether it should be in the Foreign Affairs and Defense committees. And I think it is completely well placed to bring it before this committee, because it is, as has been mentioned, an issue that affects people who are no longer in active service. These are now people returning to civilian care. Therefore, I think we would ask the committee to consider not just the issues around the budget, around the infrastructure or the institution that's required, a veterans department, a budget that allows it to be able to operate. But I think the other issue that cannot be forgotten is we need to build a public culture that honors our military veterans. I'm always pained when I go abroad to the United States of America and I see people with vets, former vet caps, and people stop in the streets to thank them for their service. Complete strangers thank them. We do not have the same culture in Kenya. Many of our vets are essentially people who have carried the national values of this country, our values of democracy, our values of freedom and non-discrimination for women, for all people. They have carried those values into countries like Somalia, and countries where there's been butchery, like Sierra Leone and Liberia. And I think those stories cannot be stories only for barracks or stories to be told at funerals. They have to be stories that are told in our universities, in our schools, and in our homes. And I think the other area of this bill is really to think about how do you create a public culture that not only honors but protects and respects the service men and women of this country and what they do. So for that reason, we would support this petition, and we would also rise before the National Assembly or go before the Ministry of Defense to raise these issues in support of the petition. I thank you.
Oh, thank you. That was a great summary.